I would like to introduce Josephine. And Josephine is one of our incredible survivor thrivers who's going to share her experience with us. And we're humbled by her bravery. And I know, Josephine, that you are wrapped in warmth. You're wrapped in courage at this moment. And thank you for sharing with us. Thank you.
I am so honored to be here with you today and have this opportunity to share my story. I'm a busy mom of 5 children, ranging in ages from 6 to 15. I'm very proud that 3 of my older ones are here with me today. I'm also a teacher and a student. My story starts similar to many 20-year-olds. I was in university studying to be a teacher. I had big dreams and ambitions. It was then I met my now ex-husband, who was very different from the rest of the men I knew. He didn't have any friends and he didn't get along well with his family. But I saw good qualities about him, and I just remember wanting to help him. Although looking back now, there were huge red flags and abusive moments from the beginning. I thought he truly loved me and he would change. We got married when I was only 23 and started a family right away. Unfortunately, the abuse only got worse over time. I was subjected to physical, emotional, financial, sexual, and spiritual abuse. Sadly, the abuse in our home was also targeted towards my children. The ironic piece about sharing my story with all of you today, it's standing up here, is that during the 12 years of being together with my now ex-husband, he not only abused me, but he silenced me. My story was a secret that I tried desperately to hide. And yet, here I am today speaking of my experience of domestic violence, something I never would have imagined I would be doing. We all have personal stories. Some of you might even relate to aspects of mine. On the outside, our story looked picture perfect. We portrayed a very happy, loving family. My kids went to private school. We had a beautiful estate home on the lake, yet no one really knew what was going on in my home. My children and I mastered fake smiles and keeping the abuse a secret. We were the unsuspecting family. So please, let me remind you that abuse can affect anyone, despite your emotional, your educational background and income. And yes, sometimes it even affects the person you least suspect, like the soccer mom whose house always smells like baked goods and whose yard is perfectly maintained. I did try to get help several times throughout the marriage. I would selectively choose what I shared and always downplayed the abuse. I reached out to the family doctor and even went for marriage counseling with my ex. But as much as I wanted him to get help and be a better man, he didn't see that he had an issue, and he blamed everyone around him. Sadly, the abuse escalated and was having a huge impact on my children. There was a significant injury to one of them in 2015, and I made a promise to them, these 3 right here, that we would have a safe and peaceful home. And at that time, I didn't know what that looked like or how to even achieve it. I just knew things needed to change, and I knew leaving was not an option at that point, so I just tried to get my husband help. We separated and he went to a treatment program at a rehab center, and he promised that he would change. And I was determined to save our marriage for our children. At first it was good. I believed that things were going to be different this time. Unfortunately, his mood swings, temper, lies quickly returned and the abuse escalated. After witnessing the effects the abuse was having on my children, I realized in January 2016 that we could no longer live the way we were. So just 3 days before my scheduled C-section with my 5th child, I made the life-changing call to the women's shelter. I was advised to contact the police and CAS, which I did. I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. However, my stay at the hospital was not at all what I had imagined. It was a very overwhelming and scary time, to say the least. After being together for 12 years and married for 9, I knew the kids and I desperately needed help, and it was not safe for us to return home. I was absolutely terrified for our lives and the unknown of what would happen next. Although my children and I never had to stay at the shelter because we were able to move into my parents' home, we were able to access all of our outreach programs and support. I remember having someone from the shelter visit me at the hospital in the maternity ward. They were there with me every step of the way, providing endless resources to help me and my children. From counseling, legal and court support, referrals, community services, advocacy, safety planning, and support groups. I never felt alone. I participated in numerous support groups for women affected by domestic violence and met so many amazing women and their children who surprisingly all had similar stories to my own. It was a safe place to talk and share in a completely judge-free environment. After years of silence and secrecy, it was so empowering and freeing to finally share my story. The journey after separation was certainly not easy, and what many people don't realize is that abuse continues even afterwards, although it takes a different form. I was dragged through the court system, leaving me completely depleted financially and emotionally. During one of the first support groups I ever attended, there was an activity where we were each given a paper bag similar to this one. We were asked to write down all the words we felt everyone viewed us as on the outside. And inside the bag were all the words we thought about ourselves that weren't privy to everyone else. People would often tell me I was strong, but it didn't matter what everyone thought. I didn't see it in myself. I remember doing the activity with tears flowing down my face, and instead of words like strong, resilient, warrior, survivor, I chose the words worthless, broken, embarrassed, guilty, and shame. Someone shared with me that when you speak the truth, we put the shame and blame back where it belongs. So today I stand here in front of all of you and tell you that I release those feelings because I have learned they were never mine to carry. So how did I heal? How did I go from feeling worthless to standing up here wanting to be an advocate and empower other women? Well, I feel there's different parts of my healing journey, each important and valuable. Making the call to women's shelter was my very first step towards the healing journey. For years, my ex isolated me from my family and friends. This journey has taught me the importance of vulnerability and seeking help. I have been extremely blessed to have such a supportive network of people walking alongside me and my children during this journey. From family, friends, church family, school family, legal team, and even community support such as the police and the women's shelter. I could not be here today without these amazing people helping lift me up. I remember very early after we separated asking myself if I wanted this journey to make me better or bitter. I remember making the choice to choose better. For me, that meant finding the good that has come from my pain. I didn't focus on what we lost or didn't have. I chose to focus on what we gained. I had a lot of healing to do, and the various forms of abuse that I endured for all those years affected me, and it really tore me down. I needed to heal my body, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I was determined to reinvent myself, a revived, stronger person. But first, I needed to love myself. One of the best lessons I learned through the support groups of the women's shelter was about the importance of self-care. I lost myself many years ago, and I needed to rediscover who I really was, what brought me comfort and gave me strength and peace. This took time and patience. Reconnecting with my beliefs and faith was a big part of my healing journey. I never lost hope. I stand here today to tell you that I know what it feels like to lose your voice and to feel completely powerless. Domestic violence strips you of who you are and what you love and leaves you questioning everything, including yourself. I know what it is to get knocked down lower than you've ever been before and to stand up taller than you've ever been before. I compare surviving domestic violence to being in deep waters. The feeling of overwhelming sensation of sinking from fear and worry. When you finally have the courage and strength to leave, you're often met with more abuse and retaliation from the other side, pushing you deeper, deeper under the water, and oftentimes leaving you feeling completely helpless and submerged. The journey of healing for me was just trying to stay afloat. I was very blessed to have a supportive team around me, and every time I felt the water rising above me, I had incredible people helping hold me up above the water surface. With their support, I endured the treacherous waves, and even though at times I felt there was no end in sight, I survived. Now I'm determined to help show other women that there is hope for them as well. If there is a woman listening, or if there is someone you know that is affected by domestic violence, my message to them is, you are loved and worthy. You are incredibly strong and resilient, and you can handle anything that comes your way. Find your people who will love and support you. You can do it. I assure you there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I am proud to say that I kept my promise to my children that I made in 2015. We finally have a peaceful home and we survived. Never forget, just when the butterfly thought her life was over, she began to fly. Thank you for allowing me to share my story today and hopefully empower other women to do the same. Thank you.